All right. Welcome, everybody, to tonight's webinar. As I said earlier, we have our guest with us and my business partner, Ben Pate, who is going to be doing a walkthrough of AdWords. So welcome, welcome. We have a full call tonight. And real first, let's get things kicked off. Ben, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. And let's just check your audio before we get things started. Hey, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Everybody hear Ben okay? You just let me know in the chat box. I would appreciate it. Hey, what's up, Robert, Barb? Good to see you guys. All right.
Hey, guys.
So real quick, guys, we had a bit of a contest, I guess you could say. I just asked you guys to share your success story with me so far. And we had a bunch of submissions. I narrowed it down to 3, but I need your guys' help giving me, or help picking a final, rather. So we got 3 of them. So I'm going to walk through all 3, and then I'm going to ask you guys for your input, okay? Well, that doesn't quite look right. All right, can you guys see this okay if I just maximize it in here? All right. So this is from John from Canada. John says, "Hi, Joe. I'm a 23-year-old university student that has started his business for the summer. Most recently, I've spent a couple of weeks penetrating the dental niche and have done several presentations already. I set up a second meeting with one of them now, and the dentist who has 2 clinics in my city and wants to open a third one. He's already agreed to buy all the leads at $100 a lead with a $5,000 retainer. Based on some of the numbers that I've crunched, I should be able to generate him about 100 new calls a month between his 2 clinics." John says that's $10,000 per month. My friends started salivating when I told them this because I'll be making more in 1 month from this client than they will be making for the entire summer. LOL. This is just the beginning. I'm going after multiple niches simultaneously now that I know the system actually works. I'm hoping to hit, or I want to hit, 50,000 a monthly contracts lined up before I go back to school in September, and I'm willing to work for it. So that's number 1, guys. That's John. Second up, we got Paul. Paul says, "Hey, Joe, I've used local lead generation explosion and ACT analytic call tracking to land 1 client and have 2 more in the negotiation stages. I have my first lead gen site built for the first client and have received a setup fee from them. This fee will cover the cost of the website and ranking and still make me a few $100. I will be receiving their initial retainer next month and should have their site ranked and generating phone calls about the same time. Our agreement is for $60 a call. That is over 60 seconds in duration. I'm expecting to make between $1,800 and $2,400 a month within the first couple of months. My second client will be a bit different, but related niche in a different city. The goal is to have a similar agreement with them. My plan is to have a minimum of 4 to 6 niches to cover seasonality and economic shifts and be in 4 cities within the next month or 2. This program is an easy sell. Now I just have to deliver and hit my income goals per site. Thanks for sharing the great idea and for the continued help." So that is Paul K. And last up, guys, we have Jeff Smith. Jeff says, "We have an arrangement in writing, or I'm rewriting your contract as I write this, to sell leads for $25 an appointment, or sell leads for $25, appointments for $150, and get 3% of the transactions for a roofing lead gen site in Western Mass. So they also do windows, siding, insulation, solar, and gutters. So lots of different niches there wrapped up in one. He says he's finishing a similar site in 1 location, and we'll copy this site and place in our target area. Part of our deal is to also have the ability to market to their current customers as well." Wow, that's quite the opportunity. He says, "We did this with no demo site and no referrals, simply told the roofer we refused to offer them." So this is Jeff Smith. So guys, I just need your input. So choose 1 again for John B, 2 for Paul K, and 3 for Jeff Smith. So if you guys would just type 1, 2, or 3 in the chat, I would really, really appreciate it. We got a bunch of people saying they're all great. All right. All right, wonderful. So it looks like it was pretty close, but according to my numbers, number one has won. So, John, I will be shooting you an email after we get off tonight's call, and we'll set up that one-on-one consultation. So, thanks everybody for submitting those. I really appreciate it. I love seeing you guys be successful in making moves and not letting the client control your every move. So let's get this thing underway. Ben, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, so why don't I make you the presenter? And guys, for Ben, if you guys would please hold your questions. After each section, he's going to actually stop for Q&A, and I'll be going through the questions and reading them to Ben. All right, Ben, you should be the presenter now. All right, great. Can you guys all see Ben's screen? Robert says yes.
Okay, excellent.
Should be good to go.
All right. So, guys, tonight's call, we're going to go over a live AdWords account setup. And we've had a lot of questions on things like how to structure an account, keywords, how to have a high-quality score. And basically what we're going to do is show you guys the steps that we go through to set up an account. As you all probably know, AdWords makes changes quite often. So if you haven't been in AdWords lately, it may actually look different. They actually did just make a interface update, I believe, a week or two ago. So you may see a little bit of a difference, but for the most part, it's the same. So you'll see that I've already got my account set up, and the site that we're going to be looking at is 24-7 miamilocksmith.com. And before setting up any account, one of the things that I like to do is take a look at the site and just kind of get an overall feel for what it is that we're going to be marketing. So as you can see, this particular site, we've got 4 different sections. We've got the home page, which pretty much covers all the different areas. Then we have an automotive page, commercial, and residential. I'm just going to go ahead and make some notes. Let me just open up Notepad. Screen sharing. So basically, we're going to call the different categories that we're going to set up. When structuring an account, you want the account campaigns to mirror the site. So we basically have generic, which would be anything just locksmith. So for example, Miami Locksmith. We then have automotive. Can you guys still see my screen?
Yep, it's back now. Good, you saw my message. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yeah. Can you see the notes?
I don't see the notes. I just see the Chrome screen.
Okay. All right. So I guess it doesn't like Notepad. So I'm just going to make my notes here on paper. But basically, we're going to have a generic campaign. We're going to have an automotive campaign, a commercial campaign, and a residential campaign. So once again, the generic campaign or general, whichever you prefer, that's only going to contain things like locksmith, Miami, or just even locksmith. It's somewhat of like a broad campaign. Then the other campaigns will be automotive, commercial, and residential, and those campaigns will all be specific for those specific services. So automotive, people searching on car locksmith, automotive locksmith, and so on and so forth for the others. So you want your campaigns to mirror the site, and generally speaking, that's on the category level, so whatever the categories of your site are. And then ad groups are going to mimic your products. So let's get started here. So you'll see when you create a new account that this is what your screen will look like. And so if you click Create Your First Campaign. Now this is something that Google just recently added in the past couple weeks, is a campaign type. So this used to not be here, and you'd have to dive into the settings, and so they've actually made it a little bit easier. And what this allows you to do is set up the campaign with a list of default settings. So for example, search network only. That's going to make it so that only the search network is enabled, and that's preferred for what we're doing right now. One of the ways that a lot of people burned through a good bit of money was the fact that the display network was enabled by default. So now Google's made it a little bit easier for you to set that. So we'll go ahead and set search network only, and then we're going to name this campaign generic. You see then locations, and what we want to do for this, as the site is Miami Locksmith, we're going to go ahead and type Miami, Florida. See right there. So let's go ahead and add. Location options. I like to select people in my targeted location. Basically, these different settings, if somebody, let's say in New York, is searching for Miami locksmith, then this first setting here would also show your ads to them. But this setting right here will only show your ads to people that Google has identified are actually in that location. Okay, and as you can see, networks is already selected for search. Then another big area, which is a best practice, would be to segment devices. So I like to begin with desktops and laptops. Most people's website is built for computers or desktops, and not everybody has a mobile version of a site, and for that matter, some sites break on mobile or tablets. For example, if you have a flash video or any sort of flash, that may not show up on a mobile device, and so if you automatically select all available devices, then without diving in and looking at the analytics and seeing where your traffic is coming from, you may be burning a lot of money on mobile, and your site isn't mobile optimized, and so you may be losing some conversions there. So, so I like to start with desktop and laptop computers. Go ahead and move down. Now for bidding option, what you want to do is click Advanced Options, and then I like to set my own bids. One of the things here for AdWords, when they automatically set your bids, you can't control the ad scheduling. So for example, on this particular site, it's 24/7, so it's not that big of a deal. But for other sites where maybe you're looking to generate phone calls from 9 to 5, if you have this automated setting, then you can't specify 9 to 5 to only show your ad from those times. So I'll manually set my bids. Default bid. So before even looking at any keywords and what the cost per clicks are, you need to have a goal in mind. And so depending upon your business model, you may be generating phone calls, and that, every phone call you make money, or you may be in a revenue share business model, and that gets a little bit more complicated. But if you do a scheduled appointment, then let's say you're going to get $50 per appointment. So basically what you want to then do is work it backwards. So what you need to determine is how many clicks it's going to take to make a phone call. So clicks to call. And then how many calls does it generally take to get a scheduled appointment? So calls to appointment. So let's say, for example, in my experience with an emergency service similar to this, when somebody's searching for a locksmith, especially automotive, they're probably not going to search too much. They're gonna search Google, click on the first result, and if the site looks good, they're going to call, and there should be a very high ratio of clicks to call. So let's say, for example, it takes 2 clicks to equal a call. So 2 clicks equals 1 call. And then calls to appointment. Let's just say it takes 2 calls to equal 1 appointment. So basically then we can see that it's going to take 4 clicks to equal an appointment with those same numbers. 2 clicks equals 1 call, 2 calls equals 1 appointment, so that's going to be 4 clicks. So if you're getting paid $50 per appointment, working it backwards, you're going to need to pay, what, $12.50 per click? No more than that? Let's see. Yeah, $12.50. Okay, so you can't pay any more than $12.50 per click with these same numbers in order to just break even. So now, most of you know that you generally don't ever end up paying your max cost per click. The only time you do is when it's a very low bid. So if you're bidding like 20 cents and there's just a minimum threshold there, then maybe you pay that. But so anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and put a $15 default bid. Budget per day, once again, working the numbers backwards. So if I want to generate 10 appointments per day, well, then we know it takes 4 clicks to equal an appointment. So that's 40 clicks per day. Now, granted, that many clicks may not be available, but 40 clicks times, let's assume that we're going to pay about $12.50. So that'd be $500. Okay, so moving on to delivery method. I personally like to select accelerated. That way, my ads are just showing all the time, or as much as possible. Now, I wouldn't recommend setting accelerated to begin with. I would recommend standard. And what standard's going to do is it's going to help spread your ads out over the day or whatever ad scheduling you have. So if with accelerated, if let's say your budget's $500 per day, but you could spend $2,000, what's going to happen is Google's going to show your ads as much as possible until your budget runs out, and then your ads are going to stop. Whereas on standard, and it's not perfect, but with standard, they're going to show your ads throughout the day. So we're going to go ahead and select that for now, and then ad extensions. We're going to leave most of these unchecked for now. I'm just going to go ahead and do the call extension. And what that's going to do is show a phone number with your ad. And that's very powerful for this type of market. So there, the phone number is now pasted in. Show my phone number only on mobile devices. You'll notice that that is selected by default at the moment, and we're not showing our ads to mobile with this specific campaign. So we'll just go ahead and uncheck it now. After we get some traffic through this campaign, we'll be able to select to show the call forwarding number to desktops. We're just going to go ahead and uncheck that for now. So moving on to the scheduling. If you want to set a start date and end date, that's where you do that here. It's always set to today, and you can't predate this. So this is where you can set your day parting. And as we said before, this particular service is 24 hours a day, and so that's fine. But let's just say, for example, if you were running with a 9 to 5, then you could just go ahead and set it like this. Very easy. You can then copy it down to either all days or just the weekdays. So you see, it's very easy. With this, you can also adjust your bids for certain times of the day. So, for example, with a service-based industry, a lot of times the most call volume comes in the morning, but it's going to depend upon the market that you're in. But so what I like to do is I will boost my bids maybe from 9 to 11. If let's say we're starting at 9, and I'll just show you how to do that real quick. So now I've set 9 to 11. We can do 120%. And one of the things to mention here is that so this would be the beginning of 11 o'clock. So if we wanted, when you're reviewing your analytics and you see that the 11 o'clock hour is very good, then what you actually want to do is set this 1 hour past so that it's actually 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock. So this would end at 12 p.m. So set it like that, 100%. So now from 9 to noon, our bids are going to be 20% greater. And then from noon to 5 p.m., just standard. You can also lower it. You could put it to 75% or anything like that. This is also a good setting that if, for whatever reason, on a particular day, you see that you're getting a lot of calls and you just you want to get as much as you possibly can. If you go in and change your bids for that particular day, then it can, then you have to go back and change them. So this is actually a very good way that if on a particular day you want to boost your bids, that you can go and do that here. So for example, today's Monday. If I were to see that, hey, it's a really great day today, and I can just go in there and hit 150%, and now all of a sudden, all the bids for the entire campaign have gone up or have gone up by 50%. So let's just go ahead and reset. Demographic, this is something for the display network only, which we're not looking at. Social settings, if you have a Google Plus page, then you can set that here. Keyword matching options, this is another feature that Google recently added. Basically, in the past, when you did an exact match keyword, it only matched for that exact keyword. So if you put in Miami locksmith, then only that keyword would trigger on your ad. And so, Google once again has thrown in a default setting and enabled it by default to include plurals, misspellings, and other close variants. So exact match with this setting, and phrase match for that matter, is acting more like modified broad match now. And when we get into the keywords, we'll look at the different match types. But for right now, you want to go ahead and say do not include close variants. That way, you can see and feel confident that the keywords that you've added are the exact keywords that are driving the traffic for you. Automatic campaign optimization, once again, that's something for display network, so it's not really relevant here. And that pretty much does it for the campaign settings. So before we move on to the next section, do we have any questions on campaign settings?
So guys, go ahead and just type them in the chat box, and I'll go through them and ask them to Ben. Ben Dion has a question. Can you set the location for a radius around a zip?
This is something else that Google just recently added. So I'm going to jump in here. Let's get... I don't believe so, but we can try it.
So right now, what's blue, obviously, is what's being targeted. Ben, the screen just went off again.
Right, so the blue is what's being targeted right now. Zip. I'm just going to grab a zip code for Miami. So 33010. Let's see if it allows you to do that. So it appears as though you can. Basically, it identified 33010
Ben, your
as
screen isn't showing.
Hialeah, which is in Miami.
Hey, Ben.
What's that?
Your screen isn't showing again. We didn't see you just type in the zip code.
Okay. that keeps happening. How about now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So under radius targeting, I just went in and added the zip code 33010, and Google identified that as Hialeah, Florida, and the radius targeting was 20 miles. And you can see that it did go ahead and do that. Something new that they just added is the ability to insert up to 1,000 locations at a time. In the past, just a couple weeks ago, a little more than a couple weeks ago, if you wanted to, say, add 500 zip codes, it was somewhat cumbersome with AdWords editor and things of that nature. But now you can just drop them in right here, so that's really very handy.
All right, great.
What other questions do we have?
If a site is mobile optimized, does it make sense to allow mobile in the devices options?
Only if it's only mobile. Basically what you want to do is silo your devices in different campaigns. So you never want to run a campaign that has mobile and desktop enabled. You know, by doing that, you're going to get more impressions on each device, and it allows you to you know, see what's going on very easily without getting into any segments or looking at dimensions or anything like that. You know, if your website is mobile enabled, then what you want to do is have mobile be its own exclusive campaign.
Exactly. All right, great. So that should answer a bunch of these questions. Jim Smith has a question. What is the display network?
Okay, so the display network is Google's network of sites. Some people know this as AdSense, but basically a bunch of different websites online have a special code that will show Google Ads. And so if you've ever been to a site and seen, you probably have seen ads for Google, that generally those sites are in the display network. They also just added mobile apps in the display network. So you can now target mobile apps as well. So for example, we are doing a campaign for a company that sells a custom guitar pick, and we found a guitar tuner mobile app, and so we're now targeting ads for people that are using that app, and that's now part of the display network, and that was brought over with the AdMob integration into AdWords.
So basically, you know, it's not like you're going to Google, you're typing in a keyword. That's not the display network.
Right.
So it's on other websites where you guys see ads and where it says AdSense. So hope that clears it up. Janice has a great question. She says, if the bid is $15, when you put it at 150%, are we then paying $22 during that time frame?
Let's see. 1250. Basically, the way to do the math is you multiply it times, if at 150%, it would be 1.5. So at, I'm sorry, our max CPC is $15. So times 1.5, yep, 2250.
Exactly. So we're getting a bunch of questions like, why is Ben bidding so close if you know, you're getting paid $50? Why are you getting so close to, you know, spending that percentage? And guys, what you have to understand is when you first set up an AdWords account, it's always going to be the most expensive. As you're loyal to Google, you play with the account, you work it, your costs are going to go down. So understand, if you can set up an account in day one, you can break even, you're doing a good job. You're doing a damn good job. Because after that, you're only going to continue to make more money.
Right. Exactly.
So hopefully that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah. Another thing too is that when you first start out a campaign, it's good to come in strong with a high bid. So that way, hopefully, your ads are going to show in the top 3 positions. You're going to start getting impressions and then hopefully clicks, and so then that way, your click-through rate immediately starts, building history. If you come in and your ads are on, let's say, the side of Google, on the right side instead of the top 3 on the top, then your click volume is going to be much less, and it may even take a day or two to just even get 1 click, and so that makes it much longer to build the account history, and basically the account history. We had a lot of questions about quality score and things of that nature, and so the main driving factor there is click-through rate. So and that's how Google gets paid. It's cost per click. So anything that you can do to make your ads get clicked more, as long as it's still relevant and that your cost per conversion doesn't go way up, that that's how you're going to pay less with Google, is by getting your click-through rate as high as possible. And if your click-through rate is the highest, then Google is going to give you preference, and you're probably going to be paying much less per click.
Yep. So Dean says, is that a competitive market where you have to bid $15 a click? That's crazy. The locksmith niche is one of the most competitive industries out there. And honestly, guys, I wouldn't suggest this if you guys are just getting started. The locksmith niche, it's known to have pay-per-click bids of $15 to $16 per click. So definitely not one that you want to start with, but it's an example site that we had up, and something that we could actually show you guys so it would make sense when we were doing the test.
Yeah, it's definitely competitive.
All right. Any other questions, guys, specifically on what we've covered so far? Just let me know. Get it answered. If not, we're going to continue moving. Patrick, not really relevant at this time. If you would just ask it later, just remind me, and I'll get that answered for you. Ben, let's keep going.
All right, great. So we're going to go ahead and save this campaign. And so now we're on the ad group screen to create our first ad group. So in terms of a name for this, I'm just going to go ahead and do locksmith. Because once again, this is our generic campaign, and so just locksmith is fine. But basically, what I like to do is name my ad groups very similar to the theme of the keywords within that. So if we're targeting 24-hour locksmith, then my ad group name would look something like this. Or you could even do it like that. I personally like to use underscores instead of spaces as the ad group name. And the reason that I do that, other than spaces, whether or not it really does anything, I don't really know, but when you have Google set up your own campaign, this is how they name the ad groups. So instead of a space, they use an underscore. So I figure that if that's the way that Google sets it up, then then that's the way that they prefer it, and so that's the way I do it. Let's go back and change this to locksmith. Okay, so create an ad. This is definitely an area that we get a lot of questions on, and what we'd like to do here is a couple different things. One is you want to have call to actions. So, or CTAs. You also want to think about what your offer is, and preferably you have an irresistible offer. So something, the craziest offer that you could imagine. For example, Domino's way back in the day, their offer was that if the pizza wasn't delivered in 30 minutes, then it was free. So by having an irresistible offer, that's going to make people want to click your ads. Once again, anything that we can put in the ad that's going to draw attention to your ad and make people click your ad instead of your competitor, that's what we want. So that's just kind of a brief overview of how to write ads. But then a couple other things that we want to do. We've already taken a look at the website. And for this particular campaign, we're going to drive it at the home page since it's just going to be the generic terms. But then what we want to do is go to Google and just do a quick search for where our ad's going to show up. Now, in this particular search, I'm going to add in Miami since I'm not actually in Miami, and I want to see ads in Miami for where we're going to show up. So what you want to do is look at all the competitors' ads and look and see what things that maybe you can pull from their ads. So for example, this one here, you can see that they've got 24/7 in the headline. And then they also have commercial, residential, and automotive. So this is very much like our site as well. We also have the phone number this would be the description line 1. Okay, this one's pretty good. Locked out, lock change. We've got 2 question marks, which is a little funny, but that's something where, hey, I'm locked out, and then I see that, and whenever the ad is speaking to the person, basically what people say is you want to enter the conversation that's happening in their mind. So in their mind, they're, hey, I'm locked out, and so that may be something to try. We can also see here 15-minute response. So once again, if you're locked out, you want somebody to come out as soon as possible. And sometimes these can get competitive where you see this happen a lot with pricing and discounts, where somebody may be offering a 15% discount, and then next thing you know, somebody comes in and they're offering a 20% discount, and so then the other person puts it up to 20, and you kind of get in this almost like a bidding war. So 15-minute response time, that's good. They also have the phone number here, which looks like description line 2. We can see here 10% off your locksmith service, 24/7. Then we can see here this looks like a location extension. Emergency, also the phone number. Now this is a phone number, but that may be off of a call extension. 24/7, Miami emergency, 15-minute response, 15-minute, $19 locksmith service. So if we just make a list of some of the highlights, naturally 24/7, phone number, emergency, location extension, response time, and we want to look for any sort of call to action. So a lot of people are just using the word call. Call us, low prices, great service, fast response. Also, too, just to mention that these are what are called site links, and we're going to be looking at those. Those are ad extensions, and these are definitely a good way to help increase your click-through rate, which, once again, is going to help your ad to show up higher than the competitors. And higher click-through rate is going to mean you're going to have a higher quality score, and that's what's going to drive your cost per click down. Okay, so we basically have our little list here. Then what we want to do is look at the actual site and see what offers. So we can already see here 10% off call today. So 10% off. Just scan through the site. Obviously 24/7. If you see a better price, we will match or beat the price. So that may be something as well. "90-day warranty on all services." Another term for some of the things that we're looking for are USPs, or unique selling propositions. Some of these may not necessarily be unique, because we can see that you know, a lot of people kind of have the same things. So naturally, if we can find something that everybody else isn't using, then that would be you know, more of like a true unique selling proposition. And that's what we want to get our ad, get attention to our ad instead of the competitors. So, yeah, there's the address. BBB accredited. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the ads now. So once again, this particular ad is going to show for generic phrases like locksmith, locksmith Miami, things like that. So, Miami locksmith. Miami locksmith service. Description line 1. Something to mention here about description line 1 is that when you end with a question mark, an exclamation point, or a period, what's going to happen is you're going to have what's called an extended headline, similar to this right here. Now that only happens when you're in the top 3 positions, but it's very powerful because it essentially adds another 35 characters to your headline. So, Miami locksmith service. So let's go ahead and put 24/7 automotive, commercial. I don't think it's going to fit. So residential. Okay, that doesn't fit. So let's try, instead of automotive, commercial. Okay, so we can see here that all this did fit. However, we run out of space, so we can't add the period. So you'll see if our ad was in the top, it would just look like this. And we definitely want to try to have the period on the end. So let's just take it out. Let's see. Commercial, residential. Kind of like that comma there. I'm just going to go ahead and add the period. Actually, I'll tell you what, I don't like 247 without the space. Okay, so we can see then we're making use of the extended headline by adding the period on the end. So this is what our ad will look like when in the top 3 positions. If it were to show on the side, then it would look like this. And then description line 2, we want to add any sort of features or benefits. So we saw in our notes, let's see here, 10% off, 24/7, price match, 90-day warranty, BBB accredited. So let's say I didn't see anybody mentioning warranty, so let's go ahead and add 90-day warranty, BBB accredited. So, once again, the unique selling proposition. I didn't see any ads that contained the BBB. Now that may be because it doesn't really matter, or that they just haven't thought of it. Response time is probably something that we definitely want to have in there. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to leave this first ad the way that it is, and we're just going to go ahead and once again, our domain is 24-7miamilocksmith.com. And what I like to do is called camel case, and that's when you capitalize the first letter of every word. So capital M, so 24-7 Miami Locksmith, capital M, capital L. We did include the www. And let's see here, this particular, okay, we can see here, I'm just looking at my status message, that this domain is not making use of www. So, and it should hopefully redirect. Yeah, see. Let's go ahead and just take that out there of the display URL. I'm going to go ahead and just copy. Now Google will automatically remove the HTTP if you leave it in there, but I just went ahead and take it out. So we can see over here that this is what our ad's going to look like. Okay, great. So now comes the time to select the keywords. And we already spoke that this particular ad group and campaign are the generic campaigns. So I'm just going to go ahead and add the word locksmith. And something that you want to do here, just speaking of match types, we spoke about this before. The different match types that we have are exact match, and that's going to be where that's exactly what the person typed in. And the way that you set that is with brackets, as you can see how I have there now. Phrase match is with quotes. And on the one word, it's not really that effective, but let's say, for example, if we're going to do Locksmith Miami, then this will trigger when those words show up in that exact order. So locksmith space Miami. If somebody searches on Miami space locksmith, then this will not trigger on that. So you got to think about word order. So let's just go ahead and add that in as well. So if you just type in the keyword without any sort of quotes or brackets, locksmith, that's what's called broad match. And basically, Google will trigger that ad on anything that they think is relevant to locksmith. So car locksmith Miami, auto locksmith Miami, on just this particular broad match keyword, more than likely these would be triggered. And it's the loosest of all, or the broadest of all match types. And generally it's not advised when starting out your campaign. You want to begin with exact match, as we have, phrase match, and then modified broad match. If you haven't used AdWords in the past couple months, then this may be something that's new to you. We had, with the survey, a lot of people that hadn't been in AdWords for over a year. And basically, modified broad match is how everybody thinks broad match works. And basically, the syntax for that is the plus sign. So if we did plus locksmith or plus locksmith plus Miami, what's going to happen is that Google is going to trigger your ads on any search query that contain the words locksmith and Miami, and also any and so with the modified broad match, you don't need to be concerned with singular and plurals or misspellings or close variants. Modified broad match handles all those things. So if somebody misspelled locksmith, then this would trigger it. If if somebody maybe typed in just MIA, Google may recognize that that they meant Miami. So Google will trigger your ad on anything that has these words in the search query or very close variants, as we just talked about. So we've added some keywords here. So a couple more things to cover here. One are negatives, negative matches. And what that's going to tell Google is that don't trigger our ad for any queries that contain these keywords. So for example, locksmith Miami, modified broad match, Google's going to trigger anything that contains those words. So if, let's say, somebody searched on Miami locksmith jobs, Google's going to trigger our ad, and we may not want to offer employment to people. So so that's something to think about. So let's just go ahead and add some jobs, employment. Let's see, what else?
About like cheap, DIY, school or training.
There you go. Training. So negatives are really important. They're probably one of the most underused features within AdWords. And what's going to happen is especially if you're using broad match or modified broad match, Google's going to trigger your ads, and which aren't really going to be relevant. And so what's going to end up happening is that any of those search queries are going to have a low click-through rate, and that's going to drive down the overall click-through rate for that campaign or ad group. And once again, anything that lowers the click-through rate is bad. We want to have a high click-through rate. So the last thing that we're going to do here with the negatives we're going to add negatives for the other campaigns that we're going to make. So with structuring of the account, we talked about that the account should mirror the site, and that we're going to have a generic campaign, we're going to have an automotive campaign, a commercial campaign, and a residential campaign. So we want to make sure that our generic campaign is not triggering search queries, for, like, let's say the automotive campaign. So we want to go ahead and add that. So automotive, auto, car, vehicle. Now let's say home, house. Let's just add commercial, residential. So we talked about home, house. Let's just add residential. So what this is doing is this is helping to sculpt our campaigns. We're making sure that our generic campaign is going to only trigger generic search queries, locksmith, locksmith Miami, things of that nature. So we've got a nice list of keywords here for our first ad group. The next thing that we want to do is look over here at the suggestions that Google gives. Now, what I like to use this for is to help me figure out which ad groups I want to create. So this particular ad group is just locksmith, and these different categories that Google suggests, these are really good potentials for ad groups. So 24 hours, so like that's a great one. So I'm just going to make some notes here. Now we're on generic. $24. So also too, to talk about ad groups, the campaigns you could call your categories for your site. The ad groups should be more relevant to, let's say, the actual product or what somebody's actually typing in. So if somebody's typing in 24-hour locksmith, then we want to have an ad group named 24-hour locksmith. And then our ads for that ad group are going to closely resemble that ad group name and the keywords within it. The ads that we set are on the ad group level. So if somebody's searching on emergency locksmith, then we want our ad to say emergency locksmith, because that's going to help increase our click-through rate. Now, granted, we could do that with dynamic keyword insertion, but you want to name your ad groups very similar to the keywords to make sure that your ad is very close to the keywords within the ad group. And that's really the way to help have a high click-through rate. You may have heard people in the past talk about one keyword per ad group. I think that, I mean, unless it was a very high volume keyword, that's probably a little too aggressive, where generally you want to have less than 50 keywords per ad group. Google suggests starting out with 10 to 20. And so you want to make sure that your keywords within the ad group are all very close to one another. So once again, if our keywords contain the word emergency, then we want our ad to use the word emergency. If the keywords have 24-hour, then we want our ad to have 24-hour. And that's what really helps increase the click-through rate, which is going to increase the quality score and lower your cost per click. So, definitely take note of these different categories, and, these are really good ideas for ad groups. So, Locksmith Miami, $15. Just going to go ahead and save. As you can see, I click Set Up Billing Later because we haven't set up the billing yet. I just created this new account. So now we just created our first ad. And what I like to do is go back into the ads and add a couple more for split testing. Something to note here is that when you click New Ad and Text Ad, that Google is going to clone the ad that's on the top. So if we had like 10 ads here, and if generally you would have stats on them. Let's say, for example, if you want to clone an ad that has a low cost per conversion, you can sort it here and make that ad show up at the top, and then say New Ad, and then just as Google did here, it cloned the ad. So you'll see here on the next one. So we also talked about response time. Let's add let's do 10% off. Now, description line 2, you don't have to worry about necessarily adding it with a period. It doesn't do anything special. So you can see here we've added in the response time, 15-minute response time, 10% off today. We added today because that should add a sense of urgency. So whenever you can add a sense of urgency in your ads or on your landing page, then that's going to get people to take action. They feel like they're getting something special, and so let's just go ahead and save the ad. Something else too to mention is that you notice that I only changed description line 2. When split testing ads, you generally want to only change one element at a time. So I changed description line 2, and I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then I'm going to create another ad. And you can see that the ad that was on the top, which was the new ad, is the one that they cloned. So let's just go ahead and change this to 15-minute. Let's just say response. Call now for 10%. Call for 10% off. So now we have 15-minute response, 15-min response, call for 10% off, save. So I think that's a good list for now. We've got 3 different ads which we'll be split testing, and generally we want to look for the ad that has the highest click-through rate. If you have conversion tracking enabled, then what you need to do is look at the click-through rate as well as the cost per conversion, and you have to make a judgment call there. When I first got started using AdWords, I only looked at the conversion rate or cost per conversion, and whichever one had the best metric there was the ad that I chose. Well, that's a mistake because you have to find the right balance between the click-through rate of which ad's going to get you the most traffic, and then the cost per conversion. So, for example, if if we see that one ad has a 2% click-through rate and a $30 cost per conversion, and then another ad has a 1.5% click-through rate and a $29 cost per conversion, then as long as we're within our threshold of CPA or cost per conversion, then the ad that we should choose would be the 2% click-through rate and a $30 cost per conversion, because that ad's going to get more traffic, and that's going to mean more leads. So on this particular screen, something else to look at would be to actually, we want to jump over to the keywords. So quality score is something that we had a lot of questions about, and something that's important, but you'll notice here that you can't see it. So why Google doesn't enable that by default, I'm not really sure, but the way to enable it is by clicking Columns, Customize Columns, Attributes, and then Quality Score. Click Apply. And we can now see the quality score. 4s, 1.5. So, this is a brand new account. We don't have any history on these keywords. This is where Google started us out at. Depending upon the when a fresh account like this, depending upon the words that are actually showing up on the page, things like whether or not there's a privacy policy. As you can see, it doesn't look like we have a privacy policy on this particular page, so that could be hurting the quality score. Privacy policy, contact us, and terms of service. Those are things that you want to have on your landing pages. And by not having those, that can hurt your quality score. And actually, if you're advertising with MSN Ad Center, they may just disapprove your ads altogether by not having that. So we've got 3 ads. We're now on the ad group level, and we now want to go ahead and add some ad extensions. So you don't see a tab here for ad extensions, and you can do that by clicking that little down arrow and then adding the tab there by ad extensions. So the ad extensions are on the campaign level. That's something that's important to note, which is another reason why you want to make your campaigns similar to categories. So this is the generic campaign. So the first thing that's up is the location extension. So if you have a Google Places account linked, then you can add it there. But let's just go ahead and grab the address. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and manually add addresses. 247. I'm going to go ahead and paste in that for now. Miami, Florida, 33132. With the location extension, you can also add a map icon. So if somebody's looking at this on Google Maps, that it will sometimes show this icon. Just go ahead and look and see anything that looks like it might work. We'll just go ahead and leave the no category. And then phone number. Okay, so we just went ahead and created a location extension that will add something like this to our ad. Now go ahead and create a call extension. This is when Google shows a phone number. Once again, this is our desktop campaign, so it's not really going to matter that much for this specific one, but we'll just go ahead and save. Eventually, as the traffic starts to come in, Google will enable that option to use a Google forwarding number, and basically what that is that Google won't show the phone number that we have listed here. What they'll do is they'll use a special phone number that will forward to this number, and what that allows Google to do is count the number of phone calls and give you metrics and things like that. And then let's go ahead and do the site links. So on the generic campaign, we want to let people know that somebody just searched on locksmith, and we don't know what their actual intent is, of whether that's for a house or automotive or whatever. So let's just go ahead and add these other areas of the site that allows people that even though they only search on locksmith, that if it's for a car or auto, by showing this, then it lets them know that, hey, yeah, we do that too. So automotive. Automotive, residential, commercial. I'm just going to go ahead and right-click and copy these links. We're just going to do 3 for right now. Just go ahead and click Save. Okay, great. So we now have site links, extensions. We have a call extension, and we have a location extension. And this will help our ad get noticed and increase our click-through rate. So any questions on that particular section?
Here. So guys, chat in or type in the questions in the questions box and let me know, and I'll get your questions answered. Dion has a great question, Ben. He says, are negative keywords exact match or modified? In other words, would doing a negative match on jobs in quotes also not show the ad for a search including job with quotes?
Negative keywords also have match types: broad, phrase, and exact. There's no modified broad match for negative keywords. So, and those basically, have the same criteria as the normal keywords. If you're using a negative phrase match, then word order is going to matter. If you're doing a broad match, then it's gonna trigger on more than just that particular keyword. And then once again, exact match. If you have like a specific phrase that you don't want to show up for, then that's when you want to use the exact match. But when you're just going in and setting things up, that generally negative broad match or negative phrase match.
All right, great. Eric wants to know, what is the social extension?
The social extension allows you, you've probably seen this when searching Google, where within the ad it'll say, 150 people are, in the circles, or that 150 people have +1 that page. That's what that does. Let me see if I can. I mean, if we just did. Just pull up an example so you can see what it looks like. So this is what it looks like for the display network. Let's see if we have one for search. But basically, right here, it will show that 150 people +1 this page,
Exactly.
something like that. So.
Yep. Mark says, if you are excluding, or when you are excluding auto, residential, commercial, why would you put those words in the actual ad?
Why would we put those words in the ad for the generic campaign? Is that the question?
Yeah, I believe so, Ben.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, basically, the person is. I mean, here's a good reason. Maybe they've locked themselves out of a yacht or something. Now, whether or not our service provider could handle that, maybe they could, maybe they couldn't. But if, let's say, we knew that we did, and they just searched locksmith, that if we then had yacht in our ad or in one of our site links, then that person's going to instantly know, okay, yeah, they do what I need, and let me go with them. Whereas somebody might specialize in just automotive. So by having those words, the search intent is not clear. When somebody searches on locksmith, we don't really know exactly what type of locksmith they're looking for. So by having those words in there, that if they're automotive, and then we show automotive, then hopefully that should just increase our chances of getting clicked.
Exactly. All right, so Mickey. Sense? Yep, I think so. I think we should be good. Mickey asks, on the extensions, would you use all 3 of those on most pay-per-click campaigns?
No. So this is our generic campaign. For, let's say, the automotive campaign, what I would do is go to the automotive page. Now, this particular site, there aren't any like sub-navigation links, but if there were, generally the sub-nav those are good. That's a good area to find site links. But basically, we could then look at automotive. Let's see here, jammed ignition. That could be something. So on the generic campaign, we then listed the different services. For the more specific campaigns, automotive, we want to then put like subcategories of automotive. We could put jammed ignition. You can also do things like, we could put some of our USPs as site links. So 15-minute response. If you had a page that talked about your response time, then you'd want to drive them there. But if not, you could just set all the site links to go to the same page. Basically, another good way to kind of determine what to choose as the site links is that once you start getting traffic, you can dive into Google Analytics and look and see the pages that people are visiting after they visit that page. So, once again, this particular site doesn't really have very many pages, or there aren't a whole lot of links. So, there's not really a lot to choose from on this. But on other sites, there generally are. And what you would do is look at when somebody lands on automotive, where do they like to go next? And then use that as a site link. A really good example is the restaurant industry. So, for example, for restaurants, it's like what's important for a restaurant. If somebody lands on the home page, like what are they thinking about and where do they want to go? Maybe they want to look at the menu. That's a great thing for a site link. Make a reservation. That's another great thing. Maybe you have when somebody's coming to your business, maybe you have a site link that says map. So wherever somebody, they're just opportunities for generally deep links, so that somebody can just go right to where they're looking for. So maybe they search on a restaurant name, but really what they want to look at is maybe the hours of operation to see, what time they're open till, or maybe they're just looking for the phone number. So maybe a link that says contact, that might be good. But the way to do it is to dive into analytics and see where do people go next, when they land on this page, and then you take a look at the top 5 pages, and drop those into site links.
We got multiple people asking Ben, does it cost more to use the extensions?
That's a great question. And the only one that can cost more is the call extension. So when you're using the call extension, if you're using the Google forwarding phone number, then it's going to cost at least $1 every time somebody calls you. But then as you start to get calls, you can actually then set a specific cost per call. In Google AdWords, it's CPP, and it's actually set on the ad group level. So, maybe your bid is $10, and when you dive into your analytics and your conversions and everything, with our metric, we were saying 2 clicks equals 1 call. So if, let's just say, we're paying $10 per click, then if 2 clicks equals 1 call, then it's costing us essentially $20 per phone call. And our bid is set at, let's just say our bid's set at 10, and that's what we're paying, just to keep it easy. So we know that it's costing $20 per phone call. So if that option's available, then you could put in $15 CPP bid, and Google may move your ad up a little bit higher because you've said, hey, I'll bid $15, and that would be per phone call, just like on the per click basis. That's on per phone call. So $15 is obviously less than 20 of what it took to get that 1 phone call. So it's higher than our original bid, and it's lower than our current cost. So that's another way to optimize. But the call extensions, there is an additional cost there, and something to the way to kind of see this in Google AdWords. Let's just go ahead. So basically right here it says cost, and what we want to look for is total cost. So it might not be enabled. Let's see, and I'm on the keywords anyway, so. So there's cost. See right there, total cost. So if we go ahead and add that, what that will do is that will factor in what you're paying for the phone calls and give you a number there. And if you're working with a large account that's getting a lot of calls, I mean, this could be a $15,000 a month difference. So, but the only way to see it is by that. Some other columns worth mentioning. You have these call details, and so you can see phone impressions. So that's how many impressions you got that showed your phone number. Phone calls, that's fairly straightforward. That's the number of phone calls that you received. PTR, that stands for phone through rate, and it's like click-through rate, but for calls. So how many times did your ad get clicked? Or I'm sorry, rather, how many impressions did people see your phone number, and then how many resulted in an actual phone call? So what you may find is that your phone through rate may go up if, let's say, you're in the number 1 position, maybe instead of the number 3 position. So that's what that is, and then of course last phone cost, and you can actually see the cost for just the phone calls.
Wonderful. Any other questions, guys? I got one more. Valerie asks, why don't you set up specific landing pages per your keyword categories?
Per your keyword categories.
So, I mean, I think that you did because you went after auto, residential,
right,
commercial. So for those, I would think those are the best, groupings. So I don't know if you have any idea what Valerie's talking about. Valerie, if you could maybe clarify. Dion asks, besides privacy and contact pages, what are other necessary pages for a good quality score?
So content that's showing up on the page, having, I would say, 5 to 10 pages on your site, preferably with links pointed back at that page. So for example, in our example, we saw that there's basically one link on this site that goes to automotive, which isn't necessarily SEO optimized, but that's okay. So we have one link going to the page that says automotive. What would be good is if some of these areas over here link to the pages. It's similar to SEO, where if you have internal links pointed at the page that are very close to the keywords that you're using, then that's something that can also help. So, commercial lock repair, for example. If the person searched on commercial lock repair, the best scenario would be that we have a commercial lock repair page. But, in this case, we just have a commercial page. So by making this a link and linking it to the commercial page, will show some relevance there that if that's our keyword, then that should help the quality score. So internal links, content on the page, also title and description tags. So, this particular title, Best Automotive Locksmith in Miami, call us now, which is great. I mean, automotive locksmith and Miami all occur within the title tag. Some other things that can hurt your score would be site load time. So if your site's taking a really long time to load, then that's something that can definitely affect. This is something else too that Google added very recently. Quality score is a very complex thing. There's a whole book about it, And but they've made it a lot simpler here by having this little bubble, and you hover over that bubble, and then you have expected click-through rate, ad relevance, and then landing page experience. And once again, this doesn't have any history, so it doesn't really have anything to base it off of other than just the content on the site. But if you find that you're having trouble, go ahead and hover over the status bubble, and if your quality score is suffering because you have a lower click-through rate than your competitors, then this will say, I think it says below average, and then above average, and then average. So if it's your click-through rate, which would mean that you need to spend more time working on your ads, then you would see expected click-through rate below average, and you know that, okay, that's what I need to work on. Or ad relevance. What that means is how relevant the ad is to the keyword. So, and that's one of the things where, by having this keyword Miami locksmith, by having Miami and locksmith, and maybe even in that particular word order in the ad, in the headline or in one of the description lines, and potentially even the display URL, that that's what you want to look at if ad relevance is something that's affecting you. Landing page experience, if people are clicking on your ad and then bouncing back very quickly, that's something that if your landing page experience was below average, then you'd want to look at Google Analytics and particularly some of the like usability analysis type metrics like bounce rate, average time on page, average page views per visit, things like that. Also, too, landing page experience, I think in this particular case also deals a lot with the load time. So if your load time was a problem, then you would see that here. So if you are suffering from a low quality score, then these definitely help you out. But yeah, I mean those are it's a pretty good summary of the different things to look at.
All right, great. Let's see. Chris Hanna has a great question. Does AdWords record your ad placement so you know if you basically what place you were in?
Yes, you can see average position.
Yeah.
And what this is that's on the keyword level here. Let's see if it's on ads. I'm not sure if it is or not.
But yes, the short and sweet answer, it will.
Yeah, I mean basically that's average position, and so if you're and you'll see it might say 2.5 or 2.8, things like that, then because you're not always in the same position, so that's an average of all your impressions. I'm not sure why this is taking forever to load here. Just try refreshing that. So something else, too, that you can use to look at your average position is in the Dimensions tab. So if you ever, are curious about, a big question is, okay, well, how are we doing today? And, what's my average position look like today? And depending upon how you have your scheduling set, this is an average. So if you were coming up in let's say the #1 position at 4 a.m. because maybe nobody else was in the auction at the time, to where, okay, you're number one, but then 9 a.m. hits, and that's when everybody comes into the auction, and so you go from number one to number three, or number four even, and then they're averaging it, and so then you're looking at it and saying, oh, well, I mean, it says average position of 2.5, so I must be good. Well, the way to look at this for the actual day, as well as, in any other date ranges, but if you go to this Dimensions tab, and then I've got today selected, obviously we don't have any traffic, so it's not going to show anything, but day, and then you look at time, and then hour of the day. And so this is really powerful, where we would see the different hours of the day, and then you've got all your same metrics here, average position, average cost per click, things like that. And so when looking at the day parting and to start optimizing for different times of day, once again, you may see that, if your competitors have been running campaigns for a very long time, maybe they've learned that between the hours of 9 to 11, that most of their conversions come in, and so they're boosting their bids during that time, and you're dropping down to the 4 or 5 position. That's a good reason to do the day parting and to up your bids during that time. And this is how you can see it, is through the Dimensions tab, and then time, and then hour of the day.
Awesome. That really helped. Chris says, good. This was not in AdWords a year ago, the dimension data. He says, thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to dive into this further, but definitely take a look at it. It's something that's very powerful. The only thing is that you can't take action on this data directly from the interface here in the Dimensions tab. So you can look at things and then make some notes and then go back, but it's not like the keywords where when we look at the actual search terms, that you can go in and add negative matches and things like that right in it. And I think that's something that we should probably also look at in this area, that if you do have a broad match, as we do here, we have a modified broad match. This isn't necessarily the actual keyword that our ad is being triggered on. So, we want to know, okay, well, what keywords or what search queries, are being is this modified broad match triggering on? So, a couple different options here. This used to say search terms, but now they changed it to keyword details. And you can either click it and say all, or what you can do is check mark a specific keyword. So like these two modified broad matches. And then you could go keywords and then selected, keyword details and then selected. And then these would be the actual search queries that people searched on. And then you can see here, it's grayed out now, but it says add as keyword, add as negative keyword, or download. So if you didn't have any negative matches in, and you saw a bunch of search terms that said jobs or employment or anything that's not relevant, you could go in and just check mark them and then click add as negative, and then Google will add it as a negative exact match. So it will be exactly that keyword. It's kind of funny because when you just go in and add keywords in general, Google does things as broad as possible to help them make the most money. But then when you go in and add negative keywords, that they are as narrow as possible, which is the negative exact match. So instead of cutting off a lot of searches, they only you can change it by default. You can just, it basically automatically has the brackets around the negative keyword, and you can change that to phrase or broad or whatever, but by default, they automatically set that as a negative exact match, and you can take that action right from the screen by check marking that keyword and then adding as a negative. Or if you see that, especially in the case where you're using broad match or modified broad match, you may find that there is a certain keyword, like let's say if we just had locksmith, and then we see that, oh, locksmith Miami is something that's like occurring over and over and over, where the impressions, maybe we've got 1,000 impressions or something, and a click-through rate, that's a prime candidate to add as a keyword. And generally speaking, you'd want to add that as an exact keyword. But the main thing to look at here when adding the keywords from this screen is, generally speaking, you probably don't want to add the keywords that just say like 1 click and 1 impression. It's like, oh wow, it's 100% click-through rate. But more than likely, if you add that keyword, you'll see where it says low search volume. And and generally, I like to allow the broad match keywords to continue triggering those. But that's a good thing to look at.
All right, wonderful. That is the last question. Thank you guys, everybody, so much for being on the call tonight. I hope you guys learned a ton. I forgot a few things and relearned them tonight. There's a ton of information when you start to dig into AdWords, and lots of little things. They keep it ever changing. Understand that your bids and how you set up your account obviously is directly correlated to how Google makes money. So again, thanks everybody for being on the call tonight, and I look forward to catching up with you guys all in the Facebook group and on next week's call. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks a lot, guys.